We are back with Next Chapter, Planning Your Retirement Story. I'm Doug Turnbull, your co-host, and joined on here by the lead guitar player of this band, all right, if you will. I'm not actually accusing him of playing guitar, but he's a financial advisor and executive financial group, and that is Steven Sabo, serving the greater Pittsburgh area. And Steven, hey, we start these off with an icebreaker, don't we? How about breaking some ice in the hockey rink there? Your precious Pittsburgh Penguins have got the season underway after the offseason there. Are they shaping up for a big year? I don't know I don't follow the NHL very closely.
Yeah, you know what? I hope so. I always love to think that they're going to be, in contention for the cup and everything like that. But I don't know. These last couple of years, it's been a little rocky. We still have our beloved Sidney Crosby here. And so there's always
like year 20?
Yeah, something like that. There's always a chance with a guy like that on your team, but we'll see how it shakes out. It's a long season, but I'm excited for it, and it's always fun just to enjoy the games.
Our podcast host and training, Casey Biddy's observing this today, and she just told me she's an Ovechkin person. I don't know, so I don't know about that. That's he's been quite the nemesis, I guess, over the years. So I'll let it slide for today. So, yeah. But you can just hang up. It's cool. You can hang up on it. No, I'm sorry. She's sitting in the room right next to you. We're just messing around, and we always like to cut up and have a good time here. But we talk about serious things with your retirement. And last episode we talked about your financial to-do list, just really in Q4, things to be looking at, certain benchmarks. If you're hearing this now, you've already passed your income tax extension. I hope you went ahead and just did that on time. All right. Yeah. But you can get more about that at mynextchapterliving.com. Look at our past episodes on Apple and Spotify. And of course, get with Steven Sabo and his family, his team at Executive Financial Group, and get these things in order. So we kind of did that in a more broad way last week. Now we're going to funnel this thing down and talk about changes in 2025 to both 401ks and Roths and other types of IRAs, not RIAs.
Yes, right.
IRAs, okay? And so to do that, I thought we would have a little fun here. Starting out, this is comedian Andy Huggins, and we like to tell some geezer jokes if we could get away with it here. Andy Huggins, hear this.
It's tough getting older. Went into an antique store, they wouldn't let me leave. I tried using that face aging app. They said, nah, you're good. I went to the doctor because I thought I had arthritis. I don't. I have early onset rigor mortis. I joined a dating site for people my age called Carbon Dating. I asked a woman on the site for her number. She told me it was 140/95.
You know you're in geezer territory, Steven.
Yeah.
I'm sure you could play this for your parents, right, and laugh at them. Mm-hmm. You and I are both in our 30s here. Okay? But you know you're in geezer territory when potential partners are giving you their blood pressure stats.
Yeah.
I think, no, I'm good. I've got 140.
Yeah, right.
But and hopefully nobody listening here gets so bored that they have early onset rigor mortis at the end of this 10 to 15 minutes over the next chapter planning.
That's right. I was going to say that's right. We don't want that, but we'll see what happens anyway.
That's good. We'll call a doctor if that's the case. But no, we want to get into this. And look, people's retirement age really isn't all that old when you think about it. As long as we're living now, a lot of people did their 80s and 90s. If you're choosing 62 is kind of minimum, and a lot of people are stepping out around that time. Stepping out from the workforce, that is, not the other kind.
That's right.
Please, we're not getting into that, okay? But you got to make sure you got enough in the tank to get to the end, not only health-wise, but of course with your finances. And Steven, that's why they need to get with you at Executive Financial Group. So let's get into it. We went to Kiplinger.com and found this list of changes that are happening to 401ks and IRAs, Roth IRAs in 2025. And this is something I got to say, I'm starting to learn more of these terms. I'm getting more comfortable in this job. But supersized 401k catch-up contributions are changing for people age 60 to 63. So this is people on the low end of taking money out of 401k and putting money in, I guess. What am I talking about? I hear supersize. I'm ready for fast food. So what's going on?
Yeah. So, in a 401k, whenever you reach age 50, back in, I believe it was around 2001, President Bush had allowed a what were called catch-up contributions. So, like I said, once you reach
he called
age
them
50,
catch-up contributions.
yeah.
Okay. Yes. All right.
But so once you reached age 50, you were allowed to make an extra contribution to your 401k. So there's a limit on how much you can contribute. Right now in 2024, that limit is 23,000, and that catch-up contribution is an extra $7,500 that can go into that. So for a total of $30,500 that you could contribute to your 401k. Now, what this is talking about is in 2025, you are going to be able, for people aged 60 to 63, they're going to be able to make an even bigger contribution, that extra catch up, than they used to be able to starting at 50. So I believe that number is going to go to $10,000 that they could contribute.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
And so you want to make sure that if you have enough money that you're maximizing your contributions to the letter of the law. So,
That's right.
So starting next year, it's going to expand.
Yes, sir. Yeah, starting in 2025, that's going to go up, and every year from there, we'll kind of see what's going on, because these numbers change frequently, rules change frequently. But for 2025, anyway, anybody age 60 to 63, they can contribute up to $10,000 for that extra contribution.
When Casey and I were getting the equipment set up for our recording session today, we were like, oh, we need an adult. Something's wrong here. So you need an adult to get through some of these changes. I mean, these are the letter of the law, and that's why you need people that are always steeped in this and are learning about what's next, and if they don't know, consulting people that do on your behalf at Executive Financial Group and Stephen Sabo. All right, so there's how much you can contribute, but then there's automatic 401k enrollment. That's number 2 as far as something that's changing in 2025 with these retirement accounts.
That's right. Yeah. So back to the Secure Act. I know we talked a little bit about that in the last episode. The Secure Act 2.0 is they're requiring new 401k plans that are established, I believe, at the end of 2022 or after, to implement automatic enrollment. And that is basically just to get more people involved in retirement plan and putting money away for themselves for retirement. Now, it's not something that is mandatory on the part of the employee to contribute. They can always opt out and not contribute anything, but they're at least making companies that are offering 401k plans automatically enroll their employees so that more people start to put away, for their retirement.
And we started off the premise of this whole thing with people are retiring earlier. Make sure you got enough fuel in the tank to do that. And hey, that's by actually contributing. I know that groundbreaking stuff from the co-host here. All right. But no, really. So make sure there is auto enrollment. And if you don't want to auto enroll, you still could choose 0%. Now, simple IRAs and catch up contributions. That's number 3. How is that changing, especially for people on the younger end of retirement?
Yeah, sure. So the simple IRA catch-up is basically just like the 401k catch-up. The difference between a simple IRA and a 401k is just 401k is normally for larger companies. Simple IRAs are for companies with 100 employees or less. But again, those people age 60 to 63, they can get an extra catch-up. So once you reach 50, you're allowed that catch-up contribution. And for a simple IRA in 2024, that's $3,500. And then starting in 2025, that number is going to increase up to $5,000 for anybody between that 60 to 63 age range there.
And there's also different percentages that change for if you're age 50 doing catch-ups as well. So
sure.
So that's evolving that. Now let's go to IRAs and a 10-year rule. And this is something I wasn't familiar with. So that's number 4 of our 5 changes list.
Right. So again, back to that, the Secure Act, it used to be that when you inherited an IRA from somebody, you could do what was called a lifetime stretch. So you still needed to take that RMD every year, but you could stretch it over your lifetime. So if you inherited it and you were younger, you could take out a lower amount so that hopefully, with proper management, that IRA was going to be there for a long time, and maybe even you could pass that along. Well, during COVID and everything like that, they changed the rules, and now there is a rule in effect where if you inherit an IRA, for most people, there are a few exceptions, but for most people, you have to have that IRA basically cleared out within 10 years. And you have to start taking a distribution each year from that. Now, that's taken place in 2025. There, from 21 through 24, they allowed some leeway there because the IRS hadn't made any final, kind of commitments on how that was going to go. But starting in 2025, that new 10-year rule takes effect, and you have to take a distribution each year and completely close that out by the end of the 10th year.
There are 4 different exceptions. This Kiplinger.com article lists the people that this doesn't apply directly to, or at least applies to in a different way: surviving spouses, a child of the descendant under the age of 21, a beneficiary who's not more than 10 years younger than the descendant, and an individual who's disabled or chronically ill. But even within those, we're not going to unpack all of that, but even within those, there's different things they could do with that money, including transferring it to other accounts of theirs or not. So that's why,
right.
Again, they got to get with you, Stephen, and your team over there, and you ask the right questions and help them figure out what laws apply to them and what they want to do with that money.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to sit down and work through all of it with them and make sure that they understand each, and all the different rules and how it applies to them.
So if that wasn't complicated enough, and it's important, I'm not making light of it, but if that wasn't complicated enough, number 5 on our 5 changes to 401ks and IRAs for 2025, and I'm just going to read the headline of it and then let you cook. All right.
Sure.
Because this is alphabet soup, and I need you to boil some water for me. Inherited IRA RMD penalties take effect.
That's right.
Help me.
like I mentioned in that last bullet point, there is they started changing it, and you were supposed to take those RMDs, but they hadn't finalized the rule. So for years 2021 through 2024, they allowed you to skip the RMD. Now they're saying if you don't take that RMD every year, there is going to be a penalty, and it's a 25% penalty of what you should have taken. So it's a pretty stiff penalty. You want to make sure that you're on top of that.
Yeah, and think about it: 25% penalty. So if we just use $10,000 you were supposed to get distributed, you've got to pay $2,500 on top of that, and that is a lot.
That's right. Yeah, that can definitely mess some things up. So you want to make sure that you're staying on top of that.
Be sure and do that. So the best way to stay on top of it, go to mynextchapterliving.com. If you're hearing about this, if you've been able to root out this podcast, then you're smart enough to go to mynextchapterliving.com, and then they can set up a consultation with you, Stephen, and you or somebody on your team is going to get with them and start figuring these things out. And I'm sure since we're late in 2024, like we've talked about it before, a lot of people are probably trying to schedule these meetings and get with you to figure out where their portfolio stands.
Absolutely. Yeah. We've been scheduling a lot of year-end reviews, getting clients in, making sure all these things are taken care of before the end of the year. RMDs, all that stuff, charitable distributions. We're making sure that all these things are checked off, and that, you have everything done before that year end.
And even if you have an Alex Ovechkin jersey, Washington Capitals, they will still take you. mynextchapterliving.com.
That's right.
Whichever GSU you went to. No, that's from the last episode. But that's where it all goes. So be sure to get with Stephen and his team. He's a financial advisor at Executive Financial Group. It's a family-run business. That's who you want. You care about your family. Let Stephen and his family care about yours. So big thanks to you, Stephen, for making the time today. And I'm really glad to have learned about this stuff and have you help us walk through this.
Yeah, no, thank you, Doug, and thank you for the time. These things are changing all the time, and they can get complicated, like you said. So it's best to sit down with somebody who knows what they're talking about and iron those things out.
For sure. And if for some reason Stephen doesn't have the answer for you right then, he's going to know exactly where to get it because they've seen all sorts of these cases. Every single person's is different. So again, that's Executive Financial Group, Stephen Sabo, financial advisor at mynextchapterliving.com. Stephen, thanks for your time. And of course, everybody, thank you for listening. Subscribe to this, turn on the alerts, share the link of this if you have, make sure to get it out to your friends, Apple and Spotify, people you think they could use this. All right, it's not endorsing it. It's just saying like, hey, I just heard this great stuff. Maybe you should hear it too, and be sure that they're not the ones paying that 25% penalty, all right, or whatever it is. So
that's
again,
right.
That's all on mynextchapterliving.com. Thanks to our producer as well, Daniel Salerson, for stitching this all together. All right, so Stephen, thanks for your time. We'll talk to you very soon.
Thanks a lot, Doug. I really appreciate it.
Hey, it's an honor to be here. Thanks to Casey for sitting in here and helping us with this too. You've been listening to Next Chapter, Planning Your Retirement Story, and we'll have another episode your way very soon. Take care.